Welcome back to Banditland Boulevard. Look at this, guys. We got back-to-back game recaps. We got some good news, some bad news, but it's we're still talking about the Bandits, win or lose. In this case, we have a win and a loss. Tony LaMonica's back. Feels like it's been a long time since he's been on. He's back from his vacation, from courtesy of Herney's Journeys, one of the
Yep.
sponsors of this show. And I got the broski on the bottom screen here. We got Jake. Also avid Bandits fanatic on this show. He's been on this show a couple times. Bandits win one, lose one, 7-1. The 16 win streak has come to an end. I believe that's the second longest win streak in franchise history. The loss, it kind of felt inevitable. I mean, the Bandits usually hit their middle of February roadblock where they don't really look like the Bandits, and it had to come in overtime. And there's a lot of good things, a lot of bad things, some big comebacks in both games that the Bandits made. One was successful, one ended up falling short at the end, or I guess you can say on the Saturday game, choking down the stretch when they had a 2-goal lead late in the fourth quarter. But I don't know, guys. I'm going to start with you, Tony, since you've been out for a while here. But 7-1 ain't too bad, depending on. I mean, and we're going to get into the depths of the game, but 7-1's not bad. If you were to tell me through 8 games of the season the Bandits would be 7-1, I'd take that all day, coming off back-to-back titles.
Yeah, especially with the way how we've been playing for the first 7, and then it seemed like they were just having a misstep or two at home against the Seals. But again, nothing to worry about. I mean, if you expect these guys to go perfect 18-0, that's a miracle itself, if you want to say that. But other than that, it's a back to reality moment. Hey, there's things we have to fix, but not really change the game style. But other than that, it's great to be home. After a long vacation, I got to witness on some of the screens that they actually have. I asked if they could put the game on for the Albany one. They did. Um, and for the other game that I was back home for the Toronto and for the Seals game to go back to the KeyBank Center, it's good to be home.
Yeah, and I was going to say, you mentioned 18-0, Tony. If
Mhm.
you go 18-0 and then get bounced in round one, it doesn't mean a thing. It's all for
No, all
nothing.
that hard
It's all
work for
for
nothing.
nothing. Doesn't mean a thing. So the good thing about losing on Saturday is you can throw that undefeated talk out the window and just focus on the task at hand, at looking at the big picture and trying to three-peat. Jake, what did you think about the weekend overall? We're going to get into the depths of these games, but there was some good, there was some bad, there was some ugly.
Yeah, man, it was definitely a little bit, definitely all of three, all in this entire weekend. I got to be honest. On Saturday night, I wasn't able to catch the whole game. I was out celebrating one of my best friend's birthdays with a whole bunch of people, but I had the game on my phone, so I was able to catch a little bit of the Seals game. I caught all of overtime. A tough loss on Saturday, but you know what? If you had to pick which game would you rather win, which game would you rather lose, I would pick win against Toronto every day and twice on Sunday and lose to the Seals. Like you guys were talking about earlier, the loss was don't want to say inevitable, but we were definitely overdue for one. A 16-game winning streak is definitely something to be proud of. But you know what? It took overtime for us to finally get our first loss in 16 games. But we still have our regulation win streak. We haven't lost a game in regulation since the Vancouver Warriors game in early March of last year. So
March 1st, I
yep.
saw it. Yep.
So we still got our regulation win streak going, and now the boys are hopefully well rested, hopefully as healthy as can be, because we got San Diego has proven that they may be 5-5, I believe they are, but they are a tough team. Got a lot of good dogs on their roster, so get some rest, stay healthy, or get healthier, and go back to work on Saturday. Let's get back to our winning ways.
And the overall theme of the weekend, I think, was the slow starts. You normally don't see the Bandits get off to a very, very slow start ever. It's usually that third quarter has been the theme of this year where, oh, this is the off quarter where they kind of let the team back in. You don't really see the really, really slow starts. In both games, down 5-0 against Toronto and down 4-0 against San Diego. In the Toronto game, this is the game I'm really looking forward to talking about, and going in chronological order, of course. Friday night, down 5-0, and shutting them out in the second quarter and punching them right back in the mouth. It's, the Bandits trail 5-3 at halftime. Ugly first quarter, took a lot of dumb penalties. They were cashing in on power play opportunities. Tom Schreiber got his points. He got 5 assists. Josh Dowick is an absolute freak on the floor. And when he scores a hat trick like that, he makes it look easy. But the better team won this game. And it really wasn't your superstar, your highlighted players that lit the lamp. Kyle Buchanan, if that guy is not on this roster, the Bandits get swept this weekend
100%
by the two teams. Kyle Buchanan played his ass off the whole weekend. Chase Fraser, if there's 3 certain things in life, death taxes and him scoring great goals and clutch goals against the Toronto Rock, Chase Fraser had a hell of a night too. And Ian McKay getting on the score sheet. You did start to see Dane Smith. He was taking a lot of lackadaisical shots in the first half, and everyone's like, what are we doing? Yeah. Passing the ball off into the bench, turning the ball over. Just didn't look like Dane Smith. He really picked it up in the fourth quarter, ended up cashing in a hat trick on the night. And the Bandits come out with a victory, down 5-0. No lead is safe against the Buffalo Bandits. And even San Diego proved that the night after, down 4-0. Bandits had a late lead in the fourth quarter. They ended up coming back, losing the game in overtime. But for this game, I think the penalties kind of got away from them a little bit. But this game overall showed you there's no safe lead against this team. Your secondary guys are going to turn into primary guys when your primary guys are getting shut down by that Toronto defense. You have a lot of time in this game. 15-minute quarters are a ton of time. So don't sweat if you have one bad quarter. You want to play all 60 minutes, but don't sweat it if you have one of those quarters like the Bandits had in the first quarter of Friday night's game, as long as it's not a continued pattern. And now we've seen this in back-to-back games with Toronto and San Diego. I'm not hitting the panic button on this offense just yet, but
no.
A huge victory against the Toronto Rockets. Still haven't lost against those guys since April 1st, 2023. An insane streak against these guys. And a game that ended with conflict at the end, I guess you could say. I saw Steve Dietrich getting put in a chokehold by Rusty Kruger. That was interesting at the end of the game, with fisticuffs happening there. You felt it kind of start to boil over when Mitch DeSnoo's laying out players and the referees are calling embellishment penalties. You felt like it was kind of spoiling over and you were getting surprised. Why haven't we seen a fight? Why haven't we seen Belter out there or Nick Weiss dropping the gloves with Billy Hostrauser? It kind of spilled over there at the end of the game, but 13-12, down 5 goals. That's not too bad. And my only gripe about this game is the first quarter, and going 1 for 6 on the power play was very, very disgusting to see. I believe Toronto did kill off a 5-on-3 penalty there in the second quarter where the Bandits could have gotten within 1 at halftime, but they don't all have to be pretty. The only thing that really matters is winning, and that's exactly what they did on Friday night.
That's the one thing that I can nitpick. I love this Bandits offense so much because we talk about it all the time. You have Josh and Dane as your centerpieces. Then your secondary guys could easily be number 1 options on other teams. But correct me if I'm wrong. Are we 13th or 14th ranking in power play numbers? I think I heard
bottom 3.
You're about right.
That just it blows my mind that a team with guys like Josh and Dane and Fraser, Nanakoke and Kluche and Buchanan. How are we that low on the power play?
But on the other side, they're probably top 4 in the league in shorthanded goals.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is interesting too. Like, I don't understand that.
That's the one thing this team needs to clean up is that our offense, our team is too talented to be ranked that low on the power play. So that's got to be something that we need to improve going forward. But like you said, Trev, no lead is safe. We have the star players, we have the secondary options to get us out of an early hole, like 5-0 in the first quarter. Even after that first quarter, I knew it was not over because, as we all know, lacrosse is a game of runs, right? It's all about
absolutely.
It's all about who gets that last run, and we have guys that can get us onto a 4, 5, 6, you name it, X amount of goal runs. So was never worried about Friday night's game. Very happy with the effort because Toronto always plays 100% against us every single time. Just got to straighten up that power play. Once we do, could be a lot more lethal going forward.
Yeah, and I think what they should do too as well is that even though we were down 5-0 right off the gate against Toronto, Matt Vince stayed calm, cool, and collective and just told his defense, here, Now we figured them out a little bit offensively, what we have to do to stop them. So basically what they're doing is that they were shutting down their main guys, and that's what they have to keep doing, is they have to slow down Dalwick, they have to slow down Schreiber, they have to slow down basically the whole line that's out there against them. So if they have to put their bodies in front of the shots, let them. If they have to stop them by setting the pick or whatever, let them, because they found a way to break down their high speed offense, especially on Friday, to maintain that lead and to hold on, especially towards the end, especially on Valentine's Day. That's why I wore the Choose Love t-shirt, because against Toronto, there is no love. There really
No love
isn't. And
lost.
No love
they're
lost.
ready to kill each other out there. And you know what? That's fine. That's what makes great lacrosse games fun to watch, especially against these two teams. And again, give kudos to Matt Vince and the defense for even giving that full time effort, especially going back to back Friday to Toronto and then Saturday against the Seals. Trying to stay competitive as much as they have to stay healthy as possible within the next 24 hours. They have to make sure they're well balanced and everything. But again, you just can't predict they were going to walk away easy against the Seals. It's like looking into a mirror in my eyes, or my opinion about how the Bandits play, how the Seals have become. No matter if they're 5-5, they look like they're an undefeated team. But again, you can't take any team too lightly, no matter who's on what team anymore. It's like you said before, Jake and Trevor. I'm sure you've repeated this 1,000 times. It is a game of runs, and you know what? It only takes one little crack of the window just to get those goals for you. And you know what? You've got to slow them down. You have to find a way to break their game plan and stop the scoring from happening.
Yeah, and it was just a crazy back and forth type of fourth quarter. The Bandits
Mm-hmm.
didn't only just come back in that game. They had a 13-10 lead late. And
Yeah.
at that point, I'm
You never
thinking
put your
we're
foot
going to
off the
win.
gas pedal.
We're keeping the undefeated streak going. I got a bunch of tweets in my drafts that I'm going to just ready to unload on the Toronto Rock admin after this game is over. Then they make it 13-11 and 13-12, and they win the faceoff to get the ball back with 40 seconds left. And I'm like, are we serious right now? Like, this is not
Right.
happening. So when you say go on a run, yeah, they started to go on a run there at the end, but it really shows you right now that the Bandits – I call them. I hate calling them secondary scorers on this team, because they all be primary guys on any other team. But Kyle Buchanan, and Chase Fraser and Ian McKay lighting the lamp, helping the Bandits, get their winning ways back and come back and beat the Toronto Rock. The Toronto Rock absolutely stink against this team. They can't hold on to a lead. We saw that last year in the game 2 of the playoffs. They were up 8-4 in the fourth quarter. The Bandits score 6 unanswered and win the game. Down 5-0 in the first half this time. They find a way to lose that one. The Bandits just know this team like the back of their hand, and couldn't have come on a better night either to come back against the Toronto Rock down 5-0 on the anniversary of – it was the 16-year anniversary of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre at HSBC Arena, where the Bandits beat the Rock 25-10.
Oh my God. I
sending
remember that
those
game.
guys home. And that record's still in play. It's still active to this day. Mark Stainhouse with 17 points in a game, 4 goals and 13 assists.
That's
Couldn't have come on a better anniversary than that. 16-year anniversary against the Toronto Rock, and look at that. Fast forward, the Bandits are still beating the hell out of them. So we love seeing that. 7-0. Toronto is now 3-7. And they're I don't know what to think about their season. We have a good chance of not seeing the Toronto Rock in the postseason this year.
nor Albany.
Nor Albany. So shades of last year, the Bandits pretty much just ended their playoff hopes. Except this year, it hurts a little bit less because the season's still going on and not everything is still on the line. So it was kind of a merciful kill that the Bandits put on those guys, both Toronto and Albany. Their season doesn't have to end on one of the grandest stages in the semifinals or the finals anymore.
Yeah, they saved them both the disappointment at the very end. So good for the Bandits for doing that.
I will say this, and before we go into our next game, not the biggest weekend from some of your key guys. Tehoka Nanticoke, I felt like he was AWOL the weekend. Josh Byrne, he had his moments, but he didn't look like Josh Byrne. Dane Smith scored a hat trick late against Toronto. But I mean, for 7 quarters out of the 8 that were actually 8.5 that were played this weekend, he didn't look like Dane Smith. He looked like Dane for maybe a quarter. I was talking to other people about this, and this just seems like something that the Bandits do. If you remember 2023, the Bandits kind of hit a little fork in the road where their offense kind of stunts in the middle of February. This is the grand part of the season last year where the Bandits struggled the most, this bleeding into March. And it's just a little roadblock that the Bandits can't seem to really overcome. It's the middle of February blues, or the midseason blues, that the Bandits are facing right now.
The dog days of February.
Yes, the dog days of February. This is the typical Bandits that you're used to seeing. Am I a little nervous that they're starting to skid a little bit right now when you got Saskatchewan and Calgary, the second and third ranked team coming up?
No.
Not really, because the Bandits like to show up against those top dogs, and they kind of play down. And the game on Saturday proved that the Bandits kind of played down a little bit to their competition. I will say this. If the Bandits did not have to come back down 5-0 and exert all that energy against the Toronto Rock, I guarantee you the Bandits would have held on to that lead and would have swept the weekend and beaten San Diego and would have gone 8-0. We can jump right into that game. Another game where the Bandits got off to a slow start, and they had to overcome that too, coming off a back-to-back night against Toronto, going into the KeyBank Center. I feel like you really just can't afford to go down 4-0 after a game where you go down 5-0. And that man right there, Connor Farrell, before we get into anything,
so
some may say Westberg's overtime goal or the tying goal with less than 10 seconds to go was the highlight of the game. Connor Farrell streaking down the field to tie the game at 6 was the highlight of the game. Connor Farrell, the Fogo guy.
So loud in my life.
It was awesome, Tony.
You got to check the roof for a couple holes or something in there, because that was absolutely electric.
Terry's gonna have to buy a new roof.
All he did was run down the floor and shoot the ball. He's been attempting that for over a year now, and it finally clicks, and it comes against a pretty darn good goalie. And Connor Farrell, dude, hats off to you, bro, because you finally got that first one off your back.
So when I was out celebrating my buddy's birthday with everybody, we're all sitting at the table. One of my buddies was done with one of his drinks, and I put my phone up against his glass there so, I could still talk to everybody and watch the game out of my peripherals. And I didn't see Farrell score at the time, but I saw that we tied it up. I saw everybody going crazy. I'm like, all right, nice, we tied it. And then as I'm talking to somebody, out of my peripherals, I see the camera just right on Farrell, and I'm trying to hold it in, keep it together. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, Farrell. I'm like, did Farrell tie this? And I watched the replay. I'm like, he actually tied it. Oh, I was so happy. I had to just hold in my excitement just because, I'm talking to everybody. I'm like, not everybody is big followers of the Bandits as we are, but I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, this is awesome.
Cool. Good for him. Especially how well Connor Farrell's been playing in the faceoff dot, just to get 50% plus every week now, ever since he's joined. It's just how well he has adapted to this team. And you know what? Kudos to him to get his first goal at home. I'm glad he didn't score against Toronto. He had opportunities to score there too as well. And on top of it, he's a machine. That dude could take on 2-3 guys at a time, especially with the control. And he just knows. You can see him screaming in the one corner when the Seals tried to break free from him, and they just couldn't take it from him. It's like unreal. This guy's nuts. And you know what? I'm glad we have him on our side. That's all I can say.
Tony, they need to get his goal celebration on a bobblehead. That's what they need.
Yeah, that would be sick.
Him holding his arms out like this.
I'd be the first one in line to grab that.
Hey, Scotty Loeffler, that needs to be a theme. The first 19,070. Screw you, Terry and Kim. 19,070 fans get a Connor Farrell bobblehead.
I can't remember where I saw this, but I don't know if it was a press conference or whatever. But Connor Farrell said he had chances to score in the Toronto game, but he didn't because he wanted to save his first goal for Buffalo. So that's right. Kudos to him for that. I'm so happy he did.
And the game you were watching on the cruise, Tony, he had a penalty shot against Albany. And I tell you what,
I was like, oh, he's going to score his first right there. And I was like, I missed. Damn.
I was down there jumping up and down because I remember when Trev and I were at the game, I wasn't even thinking about Farrell going out to have the penalty shot. I saw Woody was out to take it, but I see Paul Dawson walking around. I'm like, all right, let's have Paul Dawson take it. But I hear everybody chanting Farrell, and I'm like, what is everybody saying? And I pick up on it. I'm like,
and then you just see him hop over the boards.
I'm like, all right, this is it. Let's go.
This is great. That would be great if he would have scored that too. That would be awesome.
That was the
But
ultimate highlight of the game.
You guys
Screw it.
think
yeah,
he
that
might?
sure was. And
You
I'm,
guys think
like you said, with the guys being out, like with Dylan Robinson being out for that Seals game, and Taylor Dooley doing his thing, coming in and filling a big gap of shoes with Dylan Robinson's like all over the place, especially with loose balls and that. And then Dooley just played like he knew what the hell he was doing. I was like, wow, this kid's fast.
Yep.
He's good. He knows how to get, control of the ball and make plays happen. But again, you could tell a little bit of the nerves too. When he ran up the field, he got over the line, and then all of a sudden it just lost it. And I was like, yeah, okay, that was a
Yeah,
minor
first
mistake, but
game.
no big deal.
Yep.
But he made up for it as playing defense. And I was like, oh God, for a new guy to go in and not knowing really how the defense works, I was like, but you know what? You got to have faith in these guys because the depth, like we were talking before, like the depth of this team is really, really good at what they do. So, I mean, now with the injury to Matt Spanger, especially against the Seals, what do we do here now, guys? I mean, this is
Yeah.
for a question for both of you. Who do you call free agency? Do you call a team to try to make a trade? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Non-contact injuries suck. And like you
Mhm.
knew from the start, non-contact injuries usually are season ending. And that's exactly what it was for Matt Spanger. I did see the corresponding
Too
move.
soon for him to come back
Clay
too after this
Scanlon
year.
is
Oh, yeah.
now a full-time Bandit. Clay Scanlon was called up to the active roster. So he'll be up here for the rest of the season, I guarantee you. But as
Number
for
81 back on the list.
defensive wise, honestly, you never know what Steve Dietrich is going to cook up. But I'm going to tell you for the intermediate weeks, I think you're going to see a lot more of Ian McKay on the back door. You're going to see a
I
lot more of
agree.
Ian McKay dropping back and playing defense. He knows how to do that. He does it extremely well.
Mhm.
I don't know. You might see who are a couple draft picks that we made maybe a year or two ago. Ryan Sharkey might get a
He
call
might
up.
be
Maybe
called.
you might be
He might
seeing
be
a
called.
Sharkey chant going on in Banditland. You never
That'd be
really know.
something.
The Paul Dawson one came out straight out of left field. That trade for Paul Dawson. If you told a Bandit fan last January Paul Dawson's going to be traded to the Bandits, you're like, he's 40 years old. He's not going to come to the Bandits. He's going to retire after this year. So Steve Dietrich, you don't know really what he's going to cook up but for
Mhm.
I think for the next couple weeks, especially going into this Western road trip, going against San Diego and Saskatchewan in back-to-back weeks, I don't think a lot of moves are going to be made there. I think you're just going to see a lot more of Ian McKay playing back on D.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we'll see a lot of experimentation before Steve Dietrich starts to really pick up the phones, whether it be Mickey playing defense or Thomas Woody playing a little bit more defense. There's really not a whole lot of guys that I think we can call up and have fill Spanger's shoes. So, and when we were talking before we got on the podcast, we were talking about what's going on with Bryce Sweeting, but he's been out of playing for almost 2 years now. And he's not the fastest guy out on the field. No disrespect to Bryce Sweeting, but he's been dealing with a knee injury for almost 2 years now. So
It's 2 years out of action.
yeah, might take him a little bit of time to really find his groove again on the turf. So maybe we're definitely going to see probably we'll see some more of Ian McKay on defense. Maybe see some Thomas Woody on defense. But it really would not surprise me if Steve Dietrich picks up the phone once March comes around and looks around to see who could fill in Spanger's shoes. Because if we want to go for that three-peat, we had to have another solid option on the defensive side of the ball for sure.
Yeah, I believe the trade deadline's in the middle of March, right around St. Patrick's Day. I think
Yeah,
that's the
either like
deadline. So
early or mid-March.
he has he's got a few weeks, a few games to scout and make some evaluations, take some notes before he starts making phone calls. I mean, they're still in a great spot. They're number one in the league, even though the Saskatchewan Rush Twitter admin said that they were first in the league, which if you know how to do basic math, that's just not the case. When you're 8-2 going up against a 7-1 team, the 7-1 team has an 875 win percentage. When you're 8-2, you have an 800 win percentage. It's simple math, but I wouldn't expect a Saskatoon-based Twitter account to know that off the top of their head. The Bandits, they're still the top of the league. I think they're still in a great spot. They're in the best spot to be in as of right now. And I don't think you want to make any knee-jerk reactions because, like Tony said, the depth on this team is nuts. And you don't want you know what? You can probably grow something in-house. Maybe, like I said before, I mentioned him beforehand, but Ryan Sharkey could be a guy that you can just, I don't know, he might get called up. Look at your taxi squad, look at your practice squad. we might be catching maybe a call up here and there. And we also just got to wait and see the status of Dylan Robinson going into this week too. I want to see what's going to go on with Dylan Robinson, and hopefully he's all right. And hopefully it's not a major injury, but it's just one of those random injuries that kind of popped up on the injury report. It didn't seem serious. It's not like he was carted off the field or anything, but yeah, if we can get him back, that's only a step in the right direction. But yeah, I do think that you see more of Ian McKay stepping out of the back door and playing defense. But getting back into this game, the Bandit Killers killed the Bandits in this game. Zach Courier, Rob Hellier, and Wes Berg. I mean, enough said there. Those are the 3 Bandit Killers. They contributed. I think Wes Berg scored 5, including the overtime goal. Rob Hellier scored back-to-back goals in the second quarter. I mean, he's been a Bandit Killer since his days in Toronto. Zach Courier had a hell of a night too. And when it comes down to overtime and when it comes down to late in the fourth quarter and you're looking at the scoring report, you can't leave Zach Courier at the top of the slot, wide freaking open. And, well, I mean, we had some players there screening Matt Vince, I guess you could say. 6 seconds to go, 48. Why are you ducking? Stay on your feet and make the freaking save. That was what I was saying to my television watching this thing. Vince, that needs to be a save. Was not Matt Vince's best night, and this isn't all on Matt Vince, but
no,
I mean, he's had some rough weeks. I don't even know what the hell is going on with StreamYard here.
I think we lost Tony.
Yeah, I think Tony's frozen. I don't really know what's going on there. But you know what? Let's see. Wait till he gets it figured out. I think he's going to try to log back in.
How cool is this? Live on the podcast, you can see what goes on in the StreamYard. This is the first time I believe technical difficulties have been occurring.
I think he's coming back in now. Yeah,
there we go.
There he is.
There we go.
Sorry,
there we
guys.
go.
What the hell happened?
No, we're just in 2025 and technology still sucks somehow.
Oh,
yeah, that's just what it is.
So Tony's back.
At least I got it to work.
But Tony is back. We were mentioning Tony before. The Bandit Killers killed the Bandits in the San Diego game. Zach Courier, Wes Berg, and it was Rob Hellier. They dominated like they usually do against the Bandits. It was, but at the same point, Matt Vince in crunch time, 6 seconds to go, needs to be a save. Was not Matt Vince's best game. It really hasn't been Matt Vince's best month. Since the Philadelphia game, he has not looked like prime Matt Vince, but this is kind of how he operates in a way. He gets dominant. You guys know late April Matt Vince and how dominant he is. I know he was battling a lot of injuries last year in 2024 around this time, but 2023, this is when he kind of hit the roadblock too. He didn't look like Matt Vince a couple years ago around this time. If it's a whole team thing, I don't know. This game isn't all on Vince, but man, there were a lot of goals, like the 11th San Diego goal where he had the save and it just trickled in behind him. That needs to be a save. Was definitely not his best night, definitely not his best month of all time being a Bandits goalie, but yeah, that tying goal, the remote almost went through the freaking TV on that one, because when I see the goalie duck, Bandit fans were trying to tell me that he was getting screened. He saw the ball the whole way. He just guessed the wrong side that it was getting shot. So he thought the ball was going to his right, so he went to his right when the ball was going left. That's all that happened. He ducked away from the ball. And on Wes Berg's overtime goal, Wes Berg goes 6 feet in the air, and Matt Vince ducks and gives him a wide open net to shoot on. So it definitely wasn't Matt Vince's best night. But if you want to talk about overtime and the first quarter, the Bandit offense didn't show up until the second and third quarter, maybe late stages of the fourth quarter they showed up. But again, your stars, Josh Byrne didn't have a fantastic night. Tehoka Nanticoke was AWOL. And some of the shots from Dane Smith were absolutely horrendous. Your secondary guys had to carry again in this game. And it is pretty scary to the rest of the league when, your 1-2 guys are virtually shut down for the night. and you're still potting in 13 goals against a pretty damn good goalie in San Diego. So there's some good, there's some bad in this one. I thought it should have been a win. It felt like a victory in the last 3 minutes of the game. I know Kyle Buchanan had a chance with 2 minutes to go when it was 13-12. He dove across the crease, and it just hit the butt end of the goaltender's stick and somehow bounced out. If that went in, that would have been the dagger. That would have been the win. But losses, you feel like they're inevitable. And like I said beforehand, if you go 18-0 on the season and get bounced in round one, maybe against a sneaky team like Georgia or Saskatchewan, it doesn't mean a damn thing. So we don't have to worry about this undefeated talk anymore, and we can just go on. But damn it, like that, it sucks losing at home. It sucks when you're wearing the light blue Marvel jerseys. If there's one thing that I hate losing at home. Hate it. Can't stand it. But that first loss is out of the way, and we can look at the bigger picture now.
Yeah.
Well, what also kills me too is the fact that, when the defense sees the ball coming and they want to try to block the shot, read it. You know what I mean? It's like playing catch. If you think you can catch the ball before it goes to Vince, do so.
Sacrifice
I don't know if they're afraid to, like, it might get deflected and it'll still go in and it'll be on the defenseman's fault. I would prefer, if they're going to block shots, use your advantage with the hand-eye coordination and stop the ball like it's a hard pass coming to you. And you've got to be the hero sometimes. That's another thing, too, that I also saw during that game, which I could say possibly out of the 14 goals the Seals had, 5 of them defensemen could have stopped.
Yeah, fundamentals
not just the goaltender.
Off.
Because if they would have said, wait a minute, if I had my stick up for the right moment at the right time, and I might be 50-50, could be a successful steal, or it could deflect off my stick and go in, or it could deflect and go somewhere else. I would prefer to take a chance because it's 25% of the time that might go in the net on your own stick, or 25% could just be a deflection and go towards the wall or something and pick up the loose ball. The other thing, though, too, is that Cam Wires had an opportunity to scoop up the loose ball before the fourth quarter, and he missed.
Yep.
So if you have to, in key situations like that, especially having a little bit of limited time left in your zone, put your body in front of it and then collect it with your stick. It's in front of you. Scoop it up then. And then if you have to, throw it away. Throw it down to the other end. Where it'll kill at least another dozen seconds, which is fine.
Fundamentals were way off.
Right. And I think they should have done something a little bit better than that. But you know what? Nobody's perfect, and I get that. But maybe now, after seeing this footage or watching themselves play again, they'll figure it out. And that's what they always do, because the Bandits, every time they have a loss, they find a way to get that streak back. And they use Johnny T's tutelage and his knowledge of the sport to fix that problem. Yeah, you had one bad game, big deal. And I've already seen people saying, oh, Vince does not look like himself. The defense has been cracked. The offense, even though they average 13 goals per game, I mean, that's something itself to say. I mean, you can't really doubt that. And of course, when we talked about Josh Byrne, how you mentioned that he didn't score against Toronto and he was still struggling against the Seals, teams are starting to figure that out. And we've got to use our secondary guys to spread the field. It cannot just be all the weight on Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, and Chris Kluche, all those guys. But you've got to trust your other players, especially Tehoka. He'll eventually get his goal streak going. Chase, you got to keep him going. Buchanan's been doing what he can do, but you've got to spread the field. It cannot just be one superstar versus the whole team. You've got to use everybody on that roster. And I guarantee you, if they use everybody, they will become a lot stronger than they have been.
What did you guys think of the offense? I caught most of overtime when I was out.
It was like back and forth, and we were getting nervous. I had no nails. I have none after that overtime.
Did you guys think that our offensive guys tried too hard to play hero ball instead of trying to more so focus on winning one-on-one battles and get to the net instead of passing? Because I feel like I saw a lot of that.
I don't think it was based on one man alone. I think it was trying to do the fancy type play to finish the game. Yep. I'm like, no, get the shots on net, because that was another thing too. They had so many missed opportunities. I don't care if they shot it on the goalie. At least make him understand if he wants to feel the pressure, if you don't hit him, you're not going to get him scared. If you miss, it's like, oh, thank God they suck today. You got to hit the net.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
care
the only
where
thing
it is. Hit the goalie if you have to.
Don't get extra points for style.
Oh,
No,
you know, I don't even think it's any of that. I think it was just the fundamentals were way off. They couldn't complete a pass. They couldn't get a shot on goal.
I don't know.
It was bad in overtime. And then Tehoka Nanticoke running through the crease. We've seen over the past 3 weeks the amount of embellishment penalties that have been called against Buffalo. And then
how can you embellish that if he's the one in charge with the ball?
Tehoka Nanticoke's running in on goal, and the goalie drops like a ton of bricks. They're not going to call that.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. I could not believe that. That was terrible. That part.
It's ridiculous. They're not going to call that. And then
Yep.
the San Diego, the third man in, comes in and tries to take Tehoka Nanticoke's helmet off. He tries to take Nanticoke's helmet off.
No call there.
When
weird.
When there's a scrum up against the boards. No, I mean we're not going to call Jack crap in overtime, and we're also not going to call it in the third quarter. I don't know if you saw this, Tony, but the San Diego Seals forward that picked up the ball in his own zone without his helmet on took 5 steps with the ball.
Yeah,
no.
They did call a dead ball foul. I think did they or no?
No, nope.
They did not call a dead ball foul. Wow.
Nope.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, they did.
But against,
they did call a penalty on that. Yes, they did.
It was for something else.
I think our friend Sean, who was sitting with us at the front row, he said that's a penalty, and of course they called it, but we never capitalized on that power play because we should have.
Yeah, was it the? Let's see. Was it right?
In the fourth quarter, but don't quote me on it.
It was. Oh Jesus, was that late in the fourth that we were taking?
No, it was in the third. I think you're thinking of something else because this one was in. This one was in the third. They called someone for something that happened behind the play on the dead ball foul, but I mean the ball was for the Bandits anyway, so he had to drop the ball. But the intent that he picked up the ball without the helmet, I don't understand.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I mean, I'm not going to blame them.
Okay. I'm sorry, I did confuse myself because the one player who went into the crease touched the ball first. That was Watson.
Yep,
that was Watson at the time.
Yep.
And they called that a penalty. So yes.
I'm not going to blame the outside forces,
but we never did.
On the way that they lost this game. I mean, it was, the fundamentals were way off. Mm-hmm. And Kyle Buchanan probably had the best chance to seal it in overtime. They had some open guys at the top of the slot
too. I was so pissed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And that Chase Fraser's foot was in the crease too earlier in the game on a goal that he scored. Yeah, I mean, but in overtime, you had some guys open at the top of the crease, top of their restraining line. They're trying to get them the ball, and they're throwing balls over their heads. It's hitting off the boards. They're turning the ball over. They're just taking dumb shots where the goalie doesn't even have to move. It didn't look like the Bandits. It really didn't. And it's fitting that it was Westberg. How many goals has that dude scored on us in the past 2 times that the Bandits played the Seals? That dude is an absolute freak. And
he knows Josh, Dane, Fraser, and Kluche very well because they all played for Chaos with former Bandit Max Adler. They all played together when they won the championship a few years ago.
Yeah, but you know what? This team still shows that, I think they were up, let's see, 13-11 with so a ton of time still left on the clock. They're up 13-11 with 7 minutes to play. A lot of time left. They made it 13-12 with 4:50 to go. Still a lot of time. And then they scored with 6 seconds to go to tie it at 13. But the thing that I'm going to take out of this game is not the loss against San Diego, but the fact that they were down, coming off back-to-back games, down 4-0, still found a way to take the lead in the fourth quarter. They just didn't. I think they ran out of energy to go out there and finish that game. That's why I said before, if they weren't down 5-0 in Toronto, maybe they were down 2-0, didn't have to exert all that energy in the second quarter and third quarter to rally the troops and get the lead back, I think the Bandits would have swept this weekend with ease. I think they would have held on to that game. You would have seen a more composed Bandits team in the first quarter and the second half against San Diego. I think they would have handled them very well. We would have been looking at that this weekend coming up in San Diego, looking to sweep them on the season if that were the case. So is it cool coming back? Of course it's cool coming back, but it's never cool being down by that much because you don't know what the repercussions are, especially on a back-to-back nights.
You know what else I take from this loss is that championships aren't won in February. I would rather work out the kinks now than have these kinks come up in April. So get the loss out of the way, work out these kinks, go back to the drawing board, rest, hydrate, retool, and get back at it with your winning ways next Saturday. Play Bandits across next Saturday. We were overdue for a loss. Got it out of the way. Let's go back to and focus on obviously what's important.
Yeah.
And we'll let the NLL writers celebrate their February NLL championship, aka the Bandits losing their first game of the season. Anyone watching this, you'll know exactly who I'm talking about because my God, the comments on Twitter I'm seeing are the Bandits going down like in a downward spiral. I'm like, you guys need to realize they won 16 in a row.
This may have been one of Adam Levi's most fun weekends he's had in a while.
I think it's Adam Levy, I think is his name.
Adam Levy. I'm sorry, Adam Levy. Tony. As soon as Trev told me that he put up on Twitter, it was right after the first quarter. He said 5-0 Toronto after the quarter number 1 against the Bandits.
Everyone saw it. I quote tweeted that.
Is this the end of their undefeated season? I'm like, oh, they're winning. I'm like, I have no doubt.
It's over. Yeah,
we're winning. It's over.
I mean, Adam is a great follow.
Oh, he's a great follow.
He's a big statistical guy, but
hey, you know what? When you're
that's
the king,
fine.
When you're the king and you're at the top of the castle, everybody's coming for you. Everybody wants to see the downfall. It's not just Adam; it's everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was producing the game on 1520 too, and I mean, John Gertler was telling me after it was 5-0 Toronto, he's like, "Yeah, the Bandits will win this in overtime." Like, I'm not concerned. They didn't even need overtime. They took a three-goal lead late in the fourth quarter and won that game. So it's the TSN guys. Adam, if you're watching this, dude, you are phenomenal. Just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you're great.
And ignore the Bandit fans that were in your mentions, like threatening you and stuff. I don't know what that was all about on Saturday night.
We're not like that.
That was BS.
We're not like
So,
that.
yeah, a couple bad apples doesn't spoil the whole bunch. But John Abbott, I think is his name, right? John Abbott, the dude from TSN. I love it when the Bandits win when he's calling the games because he hates it. I know he does. I know that dude hates it. He was giving the Albany Firewolf players nicknames in the finals last year. You know, he was going to bed every night wearing his Albany Firewolf jammies. And then when the Bandits came in and beat them in the finals, he was upset. So I love it when he's calling the games and then the Bandits win. And then he's the Calgary Flames announcer. And then the Sabres beat them in a shootout. So he comes back to his old house of horrors in October, I think it was, and watched another Buffalo team beat another Canadian team on TSN.
Back in November, when I was watching the highlights of that game, and I got the TSN feed for the highlights, and I saw that John Abbott was announcing, I was laughing my ass off because the goal horn at KeyBank Center is what keeps him up at night. The sound of that goal horn gives him nightmares. It is hilarious.
It's great, but you know what? We had to have expected this, right? Back-to-back titles. Everyone wants a front row seat to watch this team collapse and crumble down to the ground.
That's right.
I don't think it's happening anytime soon, just given the first 7 games of the season.
That's why I wore this hat tonight. Yeah, we lost 1 game, but you know what? Same to you, Tony. Yep.
Yeah.
It's still the Bandits League until proven otherwise. So
right, and
everybody know who the champs still are.
We could be where we were last year. Like everyone wanted us to be last year. 5-6, I think, to start the year. 6-6, whatever it was. We could have been there. That was when everyone was writing the Bandits off. They couldn't get enough of crowning the Toronto Rock the champions already, the champions of the league already that year. We could be that team. We're much more established, 7-1. And I don't think I really expected this domination. I would have figured the first loss, looking at the schedule, I think when it came out in like October or November or whenever it was, when I was looking at the schedule, I'm like, I'd be happy to start off 4-0. I didn't expect 7. You know,
I mean, that was impressive by watching that. So yeah,
that for the first time going 7-0 since 1996. We're talking the Memorial Auditorium days.
Pretty good.
I didn't expect that.
Pretty good.
I didn't expect that at all. But you know what? You got 3 challenging games. This is coming up. These are the games where you need to prove yourself. Number 1, I know the Bandits, and we're going to talk about this on the pregame when we do this another night, but the San Diego the Bandits are pissed. Pissed.
Yeah,
Now they're going to play
They
pissed.
are pissed.
Yep.
They're well rested and they're pissed. They're going to go into San Diego with an attitude of we're not going to let this happen again.
Not twice.
You and what army, pal, is probably what they're going to be saying. And they got them, and then they got a chance to go up against the second best team in the league. And we already saw that once this year when the Philadelphia Wings were the second best team in the league. Now it's Saskatchewan, so we're going to see the 1 versus the 2 again. And then you got Calgary at home. So the Bandits don't have another home game until March 8th. This is a true test for them. They got 2 tough teams on the road.
Yep.
I don't give a crap what you say about a 5-5 team. They should not be 5-5.
Like they were unbeatable.
Yeah. San Diego has a good young core. I know they're missing a couple guys. They're missing Austin Stotts,
Trevor
and
Baptiste,
they're missing Ryan Benesh too. He didn't play on Saturday.
They're not getting Austin Stotts back for a long, long time.
Nope.
That's a story. That's
Sorry,
a
man.
story
You
for
messed
another
up.
day.
No, I was gonna say, and I don't have a problem with that. But
Austin
Ryan
Stotts,
Benesh,
he's a disgusting human being.
Ryan
That's a
Benesh, who
story
was
for
a bandit killer in his own right, might be making
Sure
his
is.
return next Saturday
Still got
night.
it.
So we're gonna have to see what happens there. But the Bandits are gonna have to bring it. True tests coming up. These next 2 games, circle them on the calendar if you can. Watch them if you can. San Diego and Saskatoon back-to-back weeks. It's going to be pretty cool to see. And then a team that the Bandits have seemed to overcome their demons in Calgary come to Buffalo. So it's going to be interesting. But I'd rather be 7-1 right now than what were the Bandits around this time through their first 8 games last year? 5-4, 3-4. I don't even remember.
Something like
4-4
wasn't great.
They were 4-4.
God, yeah, they were very, very mediocre. Whatever it was wasn't that good.
And then they were down 4-6, and then they came back.
Yep.
Yeah, 5-6, I think it was, and then
And it was Milkman and Paul Dawson to the rescue, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and then it just picked up right after that.
Yep.
Yeah, so
no worries, guys. If fans, whoever's watching this show too, don't worry about it. It's only a game. 1 game is not going to kill us. We're 7 out of 8 games. I'll take it. I'll be at the top of the standings if you guys want to say it, but don't be afraid.
Johnny T, if you want to use some of these some of these article headlines as bulletin board material, you can go ahead and do it, but I don't think you'd even need to do that. The team is talented enough to know that, we lost to this team last week, but we can beat them next week if given the opportunity. I think that's the main reason why the championship finals is a best 2 out of 3 series, because you can lose 1 game, be fine, come back and win the next 2, and you're all right. You're champions. The Bandits got San Diego again. If you want to use this, the Bandits' downfall is happening right now. Look at all those tweets and put them up in the locker room as bulletin board material.
I would.
You could do that. I think that's appropriate.
Do it.
Because I think the Bandits know. If I'm a Bandits player, though, I'm thinking, do I necessarily even need that? Because we know how good our team is. Just look at the past 2 years. The first year of breaking the championship drought, everybody except for Dane Smith was on the injury reserve from one time or another, except for Dane Smith and Matt Vince. 2024, start off 5-6. Matt Vince goes on the IR. Max Adler, where's he? And we're having all these face-off problems and breaking records of most consecutive non-face-off wins. They still find a way to go 11-7, squeak into a home quarterfinal matchup and win the championship. This year, they're 7-1. So when I see people say, are the Bandits falling down? They won 16 freaking games in a row.
And we still haven't lost a game in regulation in almost a year.
These are the same writers, the same blogger boys, that when Toronto goes 2-5, they say Toronto's back. But when Buffalo loses their first game in 16 straight games, they think the Bandits are going down. There is some narrative that they're trying to push here. And not only are we here to talk about it on this show, but we're also here to squash it because it's BS. It's crap. The Bandits are the best team in the league. It shows it under their winning percentage. It shows it up in the rafters of the KeyBank Center where it says 2023 and 2024 back-to-back. That's what that shows.
When you're consistently at the top, like we can go through all of these dynasties. We can go through the Astros, and like Astros are consistently good in the late 2010s, early 2020s. The Blackhawks in the mid 2010s, and then you could go on the football side of things. You could go with this year's or like seasons past, like this generation's Chiefs.
Pats,
with Tom Brady
Niners
early
in the
2000s,
90s.
and then the Oilers and the Islanders in the 1980s. Everybody wants to see the good teams fall when they constantly see teams like that win and win and win. They constantly want to see a different team take their place. Fortunately for us, we have a great lacrosse team here in Buffalo, and all they do is win. They win. They've won the most out of every single team in Buffalo. So obviously we want them to keep winning because we're big Buffalo fans, but everybody else wants to see their downfall. That's just the nature of it in all of sports.
Is it truly a downfall when in their 33 years of existence, you can probably count on one hand the amount of times they had a bad season?
Yeah.
No.
They've been good their entire they've been virtually great since their inception in 1992.
That's it.
They're the definition of consistency. That's for sure. You won't find a lot more teams as consistent as they are.
Yeah, I mean, just go back and look at the numbers. The mid 90s, the early 2000s, the amount of semifinal games they were in, the amount of times they came up short in the finals. 94, they almost three-peated, and they got shellacked by the Wings, and they got their revenge on them again in 96. 2007, I thought that was an amazing team. They lost to Rochester in the semis. 2006, they decided to get cute and take a bunch of penalties in that championship game and get smoked by Colorado. 2004, they run into a red-hot Tracy Kelusky and lose to the Roughnecks when I think the Bandits overachieved that year. I think they were 8-8 on the season. They somehow found their way to the finals. 2016, 2019, this team has been either in the Final Four or the championship for, I don't want to say, would I say half of their years in existence? Would that be?
Pretty much. I agree with that.
So is it truly a downfall when they've been consistently great the past 30, 33 years? Maybe outside of a couple retool, rebuild years that only last a year? I think it's fine, but you know what? They're gonna write their stuff. We're gonna do our show. This is their job, though. At the same time, like you don't want to get offended by this stuff. They have to write the articles that are gonna engage the audience, so they know exactly what they're doing. It doesn't matter their opinions.
They know it's the Bandits League, and everybody's just living in it, and that's a fact. That's the way it is until proven otherwise.
They want to start up conversation, which is fine. And there's a lot of great lacrosse media, articles, podcasters out there, and we're just another one of them. So we're pushing our Bandit narrative, and they're doing their thing, which is absolutely fine. But 7-1 on the season, you hate losing an OT, you hate going to overtime. I've learned watching this team, I hate going to overtime. It sucks.
Stresses me out.
Yeah,
big time.
But when they score that OT goal and the Bandits win, it's like a weight lifted. When they lose, you're like, you go back and criticize every single play that could have gone your way in the first, second, third, fourth quarter to not go into overtime in the first place.
I still remember us being at that Georgia game in the quarterfinals last year. My heart was in my throat the entire overtime.
Yeah, the ending of the San Diego game was very similar to that.
That was brutal.
Dude, the end of the San Diego game was very similar to that. They weren't scoring in the first 5 minutes of overtime.
Right.
And I remember just sitting on the couch watching. I'm like, I'm just waiting for a Josh Burns shot from the restraining line to go top corner. We never got that.
Happened.
Yeah, we never got that.
Here's the thing: there's still a lot of in that game. There's still the San Diego game. There's still a lot more regular season games left to play. In the Georgia game, that was your season, and that was stressing me out.
Yep. And last year, if you remember, we lost in overtime too. I think, we lost in overtime last year when it really didn't matter. We won in overtime when it did. So if we're going to talk about patterns and paths to a championship, I'll take an overtime loss. Yeah, that was the last game they lost before last Saturday.
You should have had that one too. Should have had that game too.
Point is, though, I'm not worried. Not worried whatsoever. Back-to-backs are tough. It's tough to sweep those. And Johnny T even said, I thought we had the amount of talent on this roster to win back-to-back. We don't like using that excuse because this team is much too talented. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next Saturday because you're going to see Clay Scanlon back in the lineup. I hope to see Dylan Robinson come back. I hope that whatever injury he had was minor and find a way to cover Wes Berg, for crying out loud. You should be able to win that game. But, we'll talk more about that on the pregame. going into next week. But
Sure.
yeah, it's going to be
Definitely.
cool. But yeah, 7-1 on the year. They beat Toronto. That's the biggest part. That's the biggest highlight of the weekend, beating Toronto and lose to San Diego. First time in franchise history the Bandits have lost to the San Diego Seals. They had an undefeated record going into last Saturday against them. So,
no big deal.
Whatever. And if you ever see Kyle Buchanan, you could always remind him the first time the Bandits played the Seals when he was on the team with Connor Fields.
That's right. I think
the Bandits beat them 18-7 in San Diego. So maybe we can get a repeat of that.
That would be great.
That'd be cool.
Let Kyle score like 6 goals against them.
Yeah,
Wouldn't that be something?
Get a little bad blood against your former team. I mean, he scored a couple
I would.
good
Take
goals.
it out now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much all I got here. I'm waiting for next week because after a loss, I'm always like, okay, let's just get to next weekend, avenge that loss, and we can move on with our lives. But 17-1 is still in play.
Yes, it is.
That's what I love to see. Do you guys have a player of the game for the Toronto game?
I got to go with my boy Kyle. Kyle Buchanan is the man to go for it. Still finding the way to score those sweet highlight goals, and I probably preached to him every single episode I've been on Banditland Boulevard, ever since he came back for one more year. And again, he's my go-to guy. He's a workhorse. He's a warrior out there. He finds the way to get to those loose balls and create plays and score the goals when needed. And my guy is Kyle Buchanan.
I got Kyle Buchanan too. No question.
Hands down.
I'll go with Dane Smith. Had a rough start to the game. Had a rough 2.5 quarters, but you know what? He showed up when it mattered the most. He showed the world who Dane Smith is against tough competition. So, like I said earlier, or just now, when the lights were brightest, when they needed him the most, when Josh Bird was covered, Dane stepped up, and Dane helped us get a big win against Toronto. So, Kyle Buchanan, great choice. I would have picked him too, but you guys got there before I did, so I'll go with Dane Smith.
Sorry, I'm going with 91 all the time. If he keeps playing like this, I got no choice.
Nope. Player of the game against San Diego, Connor Farrell. I beat you all to it.
I'm going to say that same thing. Man, baby.
Yep.
Connor Farrell.
Connor Farrell. Undoubtedly.
Argue with the wall.
Argue with the wall. Yeah, I don't care how many goals Buchanan had against San Diego. I don't care. Connor Farrell scoring in front of Banditland. You can only experience that once. That's the only thing you can get. But yeah, 7-1, the Bandits keep it rolling. We got San Diego coming up next week. We'll have the preview for you on this show as we continue later on in the week. But Tony, hit him with a sponsor.
You got it. It's great to be back to say it again. Here we go. To our main sponsor, we'd like to thank Mitchell's Tavern, located at 734 Sheridan Drive up in Tonawanda, New York. Guys, if you have not checked this out yet, please, by all means, Banditland Boulevard, ourselves, Jake down low, Trevor over there, myself included, are telling you to go check out Mitchell's Tavern for their great food and amazing service. They will treat you like family. Also, we'd like to thank Herney's Journeys. I've been personally on a cruise, and I went through Herney's Journeys, and I'd like to thank most importantly, the travel agent, Suzanne Pike. Thank you so much for the time and effort for getting this all worked up and getting us to enjoy a great week on the boat. Guys, if you haven't tried it out yet, please contact Suzanne Pike at herneysjourneys.com. Let her book your next big adventure. And for our fans who watch us on YouTube, give us that like, subscribe, and link into the channel every time you hit that notification bell to mention about Buffalo Bandits Lacrosse on banditland.com and also on Banditland Boulevard here live as you're seeing this right now with everybody. You can see us at live. Also, we'd like to thank those who listen in on every device known to man, on Spotify, on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer, on your radio itself. Give us that 5-star rating. Let us keep talking to you about Buffalo Bandits Lacrosse, and keep on listening because we really appreciate you guys backing us up. But also, after taking this time to announce our sponsors, I'd like to give a big shout out to a person who I met on this cruise, and it's Kyle Buchanan's dad, Alex Buchanan. I have to say this live, and I know Kyle's listening in. I wanted to say it is an honor and privilege to meet you personally, sir. You have a wonderful family. You have an amazing son, Kyle, who plays lacrosse. I just cannot thank you enough for meeting you for the first time. You are a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you so much.
What are the odds? That's freaking awesome. That's awesome.
That was probably one of the highlights of that cruise is meeting Kyle's dad. And that right there, he says, he even told me personally, Kyle talks nothing but good news about you guys online, and especially me personally about, talking great things about Kyle. So again, Alec, I thank you so much for listening to the show, and also thank Kyle Buchanan for sure, who also listens in.
Yeah, and Kyle, I mean, dude, you listen in. Just
Join
ask us
us!
to be on.
Come
Seriously.
on, man. We need you on board.
Seriously. All you need to do is reach out.
Hey,
Come
this
on,
is
bro.
your open invitation.
One time, even if it's a day before the game, reach us out.
If there was
Bucky,
one time, just
we're
do
gonna-
it. Come on, bro. You're right here. We're all right here. We're still alive. This is real. This is actually happening.
We'll give you the
Well,
invite.
I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you.
We got to give you that invite, man. We'd love to have you on.
What
We'll
is
hit him
an
up on
email
Instagram or
address?
something. We got to get him on board. Got to
Yeah.
get him on board.
All it is your email address, bro. Come on.
Something.
That's all we need.
Come on, Bucky.
Well, we got 3 words to say. Win, lose, or tie till I
No
die.
matter what, till the day
No
we
matter
die.
what.
Yep.
3 words.
Let's do it like Swenny. Ready? One,
Let's do it. One,
2, 3.
3.
Let's go, Bandits.
Bandits.
Let's go.
Come on.
Let's go. Count us out. Keep counting us out. We'll see you next
Still the
week.
champs. You got to beat us.
Let's
Still
go.
here.
Still champs. Still here. Still here. Deal with it.